Welcome back to the Kim Baker Show, everyone. The amazing connection between horses, animals, and humans. So we have Bob Avila on the line. And Bob, I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the most helpful in working with horses that you have found throughout your experience?
Patience.
Just
Patience. Knowing when to quit, how far to push, knowing when to quit. I think that's the biggest thing I see, that people get frustrated, and usually when the people get frustrated, the horses are frustrated. I don't know which side causes the other, but I think the people cause the frustration in the horse most of the time. And, and I think knowing when to quit, when to take a break, when to say, hey, I need to take a break here. When I first started training, I had a really good friend in Washington State, and he used to tell me that if you got frustrated and you didn't know what to do, and you started arguing with your horse, you should get off. And he said, there's some candy in your pocket or gum or whatever, And he said, just sit down off your horse and chew a piece of gum, eat a piece of candy, and think about what the problem was. And then get on, and you'll have a whole different aspect to it, outlook on the whole thing. And it really does, I try to relate everything to people. I try to relate my horses to people. If a husband and wife get in a fight, a lot of times they're going to say things that they shouldn't say. But if they walk away from it and think about it and come back, they probably will get things solved a lot easier. A horse is the same thing, except you're not talking to them, you're physically relating to them a lot of times. And I think if you just give yourself a little space, take your time, think about what you're doing, I think that's the biggest thing right there.
Yeah, I like that. I like, you get off, you take a break, you mentally, physically disconnect from the horse and really start to think about what's going on. And maybe you can't figure it out. And so you need more time, to think about it. And maybe you put your horse away and come back in 10 minutes or tie him up or something or whatever. But just taking that moment to breathe and think about it, I've run into that. I've been working with the horse, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? Why is this not working? And if I just stop for a moment and go back through and look at it, and then it's like, oh, I bet you that's what it is. And I change something, and then boom, the horse is like, yes, that makes more sense to me. Thank you.
Right. And I always, the young people work for me. They're looking for a theory all the time. Everybody's looking for a new theory, and I'm really not a big theory person. And I tell them, I said, my theory is it works or it doesn't work. If it works, do it again. If it doesn't work, don't do it again. That's as deep as I get right there. And I watch people do the same thing over and over and over and over. That's not working. You got to go try something else sooner or later, because you're just bashing your head against a wall or something. But I try to relate to horses like they're a 2-year-old child. I think their mentality is about like taking care of a 2-year-old. And if you think about that, how you would deal with a 2-year-old if they were doing the things your horse was doing, I think a lot of times you can figure things out. I made the statement today to one of the young boys who works for me. I said, you have to be a smart horse trainer, because you're never going to outmuscle them. So be smarter than they are, and outthink them if nothing else, But I went through periods of my life that, I'm sure I ran at it with the muscle aspect and stuff. But as I've gotten older, I've realized, the smarter you train, the better your horses are.
Right. Well, and the easier it is on you.
Yeah. Well, you have to go through a lot of that stuff to figure that out, though.
That's right. Yeah. You do. Yeah. We learn through, experiential and making mistakes and all that. So the horses are, they're no different. A lot of times we're learning together as we go. And I'm sure that for each horse that you work with, you're probably learning something new from them also. At least that's true for me.
Yeah, and I think people have to realize that horses, mentally, physically, talent, wise are all on different levels. And, I mean, if I use a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most talented horse I could ride and 1 being, the most average horse, basically. And when I have them in training, if I have a 3, what I feel is a 3, I'll just use the 3 for example, I try to make that horse the best 3 I can make it, because I know I'm never going to make it an 8 or a 9. I would probably ruin it. And I see a lot of horses push to the point that they rebel because people are trying to make them an 8 or 9. If you make them the best 3 they can be, they're going to be a nice 3. They're going to be a really nice 3. And there's a great market for that. There's a lot of places for 3s to be at, or a 5, or whatever number you want to pick. I'm just pick 3 out. But I think that's a big thing people need to realize.
I agree, and you had written an article about that as well on Horse and Rider, as far as picking a horse that's right for you and what you want to in the discipline. You can't. Sometimes you just cannot fit a square box into a round hole. No matter how hard you try to push it in there, you need to have a different horse for what it is that you want to do.
Sure, it'd be amazing if we get everybody to realize that, but we're not going to. So they keep trying to put a square box in a round hole. So, but and I've done it a lot. I mean, the articles I write for Horse and Rider, every one of my articles is from something that really happened. That's why everybody goes, "How do you keep coming up with articles?" Yeah, I keep living. And these are articles that I see every day. I go through myself every day. And I know, I'll call the gal that does my writing and stuff, and I'll say, "Hey, I had an idea." And it was usually from something that happened to me that day or something I saw happen to somebody else. And, it's kind of it's what keeps it interesting, really.
It does. And that's funny because that I do the same thing. Something will happen and I'll be like, "Oh, that would somebody could benefit from from what happened there.
Oh, yeah.
My mistake, or or just the interaction, the relationship, and go and write it down." And so that's wonderful to hear. I'm glad you shared that with us.
Yeah.
That they're personal experiences in some way, shape, or form, and that we can, and then you're sharing it so the rest of us can benefit from that.
Sure.
Really,
I mean, the world today is so much different than it was when I learned. I mean, I worked for a man named Tony Amaral. He's a Hall of Famer, and he was really a gruff old guy to work for. And he'd look at you and say, "Do it," and he expected you to figure out how to do it. And today, we have all the books and the programs and the videos, and I mean, we have so many places to go learn. The internet, that really, if you have a problem, really, there's no excuse for not being able to find help.
Absolutely. You're right. There is a wealth of information available at your fingertips in some way, shape, or form. And so there's no excuse for not finding, reaching out and figuring it out in some way, even if you have to pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yep, that's very true. Very true.
So what would you like to see if you were able to change anything in the horse industry? What would you change for the better?
Oh, I'd probably, I've watched the good, the bad, and ugly in it. I've had every question that you can imagine asked to me, the same thing of what you'd like to change. And our industry is a big industry now. It's big business now. I don't know if it's always the best for the horse. I guess that's the part I'd like to see evened out somewhere. Futurities, the more money they throw at the futurities, the more pressure they throw at the horses. I'm as guilty of it as anybody else is. I've seen outsiders blame horse trainers, but when you're a horse trainer, you have owners that pressure you to perform and to make things work and stuff too. They pay a lot of money for these horses, and so if you don't do it, they're going to take it away from you and they're going to send it somewhere else. And I think sometimes the horses would suffer. And you can take the word horse out of it. You can put dog in it, whatever. It's the animals. And I know that I'm a firm believer to be a great horseman, you have to love animals. And if you don't love animals, you will never be a great horseman. I don't care who tells you or how much of your own press you read or whatever. You may be a great mechanic, but you'll never be a great horseman. So, I'd like to see more great horsemen, really. I'd love to see more people, love animals that are doing it. I'm very fortunate because, I love my animals, and I've gotten to make a living doing what I do, and with animals I love. So, I'm as fortunate as you get.
It's wonderful, and I agree with you. More love for the animals, absolutely. And I think anything and everything that we're doing right now would make a big difference in our world, actually. Because if you have love for an animal, then you can have compassion and you can have empathy for humans.
Sure. And like I'm not pointing my finger at everybody, because there's a lot of people that do love animals and stuff, But I think the first thought you have to look at and say, hey, is this good? Is this the best thing for my horse or my dog or whatever? And if you can't answer that right off the bat, you better stop and think about what you're doing.
I like that. I like that very much. Okay, well, we're going to take another quick commercial break. So, Bob, if you would just hold the line, and everyone stay tuned. You're listening to The Kim Baker Show. We will be right back.